Hey guys, and welcome to episode number 81 of Diehlman at Halftime, the NBA podcast that tops all others. I'm your host, Larry Diehlman, joined by my co-host, Christy Pietro. If you're joining us for the first time, it's great to have you, and if you've been a regular listener, welcome back. We have a lot to cover today and not a lot of time to do it. We'll look at a general overview of the NBA this week and then discuss some important topics across the association. Let's get to our content for the week. The NBA is aiming to change policies regarding injury reporting, tanking, and prop bets. This is a new memo that was sent out recently across the association, and it stems from the arrests of Terry Rozier, Chauncey Billups, and Damon Jones. Chris and I talked about that earlier in the season when that whole thing went down. So now NBA teams are required to submit injury reports on game days between 11 a.m. and 1 p.m. local time and then update them on NBA.com every 15 minutes rather than hourly. With tanking, the league is considering modifying rules regarding draft pick protections and the draft lottery. And for prop bets, there will be further restrictions, including how much can be wagered, limitations on under bets, reducing the number of players offered by sportsbooks, and eliminating bets that can be determined on a single play. Chris, we saw how this played out earlier in the year, especially with Terry Rozier and Chauncey Billups, and even recently with Jonte Porter of the Toronto Raptors getting himself a lifetime banishment from the league for some under bets. So, what are your overall thoughts on this? I think it's good the NBA is cracking down on all this gambling and tanking stuff, but I think it's hard to kind of take seriously when every other commercial is like, these free throws are brought to you by DraftKings.
No, I totally agree. And that's kind of exactly where I was going to go with this, is that you can't really say that this is a bad thing that they're implementing these new requirements of teams for the injury reporting and getting on the sports books about limiting the amount of under bets you can place. And I think they're trying to limit the amount you can wager, period, on NBA games, and I believe they're also trying to shallow the player pool, which you can bet on. So that means you'll be able to bet on less players, probably just the top ones on each team, the notable ones that will be getting serious playing time. So, I mean, like, it's a good thing, but one, after all of the Jonte Porter, Chauncey Billups, Terry Rozier, after that whole debacle they were faced with, they had to do something. And to me, this kind of just feels like an empty action to take. It's good that they have to report the injuries more often and more frequently, but I mean, like, is 1 hour going to be that much of a difference from 15 minutes? Like, I feel like there's still enough wiggle room to potentially sway some people with insider information about who's playing, who's not in 15 minutes compared to an hour, which it is now. Like it's this more so feels like something they were pressured into doing, and they're kind of avoiding the root issue here, which is that gambling and sports betting has become such a huge part of the game now. You see it everywhere. Every other commercial is DraftKings, FanDuel, Fanatics Sportsbook. It's like there's a new sportsbook every day that you see during a commercial break. And you have players promoting it, you have the league promoting it, and I think it's a big money maker for them. And like I said, they had to do something after everything they faced in the beginning of the season, and this doesn't really feel like a fix. I feel like the fix would be getting it out of everyone's face and stop making this stuff so accessible and so promotable. And instead, they're kind of just quote unquote cracking down on this stuff. But I mean, I feel like there's still going to be loopholes. I feel like this stuff is still going to be happening, like what was happening with Terry Rozier, among others. And this doesn't really feel like a fix to me. This kind of just feels like a band-aid that they were pressured into forcing on. And It's really not addressing the root issue, which is how big sports gambling has become for not only consumers, but the players and the people actually involved.
Yeah, it's kind of like putting a Band-Aid on the Titanic as it's sinking, which isn't going to do
Yeah.
anything after the iceberg. But yeah, I agree with your points that they had to do something, but is this something actually something? The amount of craziness that we saw from that scandal earlier in the year. I mean, Chauncey Billups was allegedly involved with organized crime, and Terry Rozier was. We saw some plays, some clips of him, and just looked like either he's like drunk or something, or he was intentionally throwing the game or whatever. So
It's so funny.
something had to be terribly wrong. But yeah, I don't know how 15 minutes is gonna really crack down on anything. The draft pick thing, I think, can be a little bit easier to regulate because I think certain teams, like the Mavericks, for example, got the number one pick last year and they weren't even the worst team in the league, versus maybe the NFL, where if you're the worst team in the league, you're pretty much guaranteed to get the number one overall pick. And then, like you said, with the sports books, I think, you guys keep cracking down on that, but it's hard to regulate that. That's basically as if, you're giving an alcoholic a drink. It's not really doing anything.
No
Um,
more 12 packs, no more 12 packs.
we'll get you
But
six packs.
here's a little six pack to hold you over. Yeah,
Yeah,
I think you'll be all right.
yeah, basically. This episode is our special edition Christmas episode, with it being just days away. So, this episode is entitled The Greatest Story Ever Told. So, who's raising eyebrows at the moment?
So as we're getting closer to Christmas here and the holiday season, it's the season of giving, and Larry and I figured that we'd take a little look around the league and see what teams might be in need of a Christmas present. So that's exactly what we did. I believe we both took three teams and we took a look around the league and we saw, who could really use a gift right now? Who's maybe going through a rough patch and we could really cheer up. So let's go back and forth here. I'll start, and I'm going to start up where it's probably snowing and it looks very holly jolly right now, up in the frigid state of Minnesota with the Timberwolves, who are a very good team right now, 19 and 10. I believe they're sixth in the West. Anthony Edwards is playing at his peak. He is undoubtedly a superstar. This team is definitely not a pushover in the West. I don't think they're in the true title contender tier of teams in the NBA or in the West, but a very good basketball team at the moment. But I think where they're really falling short is a team with a quality point guard. And Mike Conley's been out. He's unk. He hasn't really been playing too much this season, and he's really their only true point guard. Dante DiVincenzo's been running the one for a little bit now, and it's kind of seen mixed results. I don't think he's a true point guard. And then they've been running a lot of the Rob Dillingham, Bones Highland conglomerate, the A1 Hoop mixtape conglomerate in the at the point guard spot, and that really is not sufficing for them as a team with championship aspirations. I'm gonna gift the Timberwolves a point guard here. I wish Fred VanVleet was healthy, so maybe we could get them a Fred VanVleet who's we know is a championship player, but as we know, he's injured right now. There's really not a whole lot of options on the trade market for a point guard right now. You could go in the Ja Morant, Trey Young, LaMelo Ball direction. I think that'd be an interesting fit on the Timberwolves, who are a pretty good defensive team outside of the point guard spot. So I think a player like one of those, or maybe a Darius Garland, could really, tie this lineup together. And I think they need a point guard to tie the lineup together and to truly compete in the West. Because again, this and one hoop mixtape, Rob Dillingham, Bones Highland, point guard combo is not working out right now. They're bad on defense and they just have a bad court feel. I mean, I'd be terrified against them in a 1v1, but I don't know, for a team with championship aspirations and a true superstar in Anthony Edwards, you need a quality point guard. And the Timberwolves need one desperately right now. So I'm gonna give them a point guard in hopes that they can join that upper echelon of the San Antonios and the Houstons of the world in the West and compete for a title.
I'm not gonna lie, I didn't realize Bones Highland was on the Timberwolves.
Been playing.
I kind of forgot where he was, and I was like, oh yeah, he was traded like last year's trade deadline. I'm like, yeah, that's right, he went to the Timberwolves.
They're reaching to the true depths here to find some semblance of a point guard,
Yeah.
and it's not working out too well for them so far.
So my first team on my NBA team Christmas wish list, I'm going with a team down in the South. I'm going down to NOLA, to New Orleans, Louisiana, to the Pelicans. And my Christmas gift to them, fold the team and start over. So the Pelicans, I don't know, they are just a mess, honestly. They just fired Willie Green a couple weeks ago. Didn't really work out. Zion's never healthy. They traded Anthony Davis a few years ago, and he immediately won a championship with the Lakers in the bubble realm. And the Pelicans have only made the second round of the playoffs twice in their existence, and they lost both times. Now, the Pelicans are one of the NBA's expansion teams. So I believe they started in like 2002. Then there's the whole thing with the Bobcats and the Hornets and, all that crazy stuff. Here's another thing, too, that I found hilarious. Now, I thought it was DeJounte Murray who said it. It was actually Dyson Daniels. So Dyson Daniels, now of the Atlanta Hawks, spoke negatively about his former team. I believe it was last year, and he said, quote, that organization's cursed, meaning the Pelicans. Every year there's something new. I'm happy I'm not there anymore. There's something down in that water down there or something, end quote. The Pelicans have just had a horrible streak of injury luck, and I've said it previously that they've like nobody in attendance for these games. They don't have a first round draft pick because of their front office, to be polite.
Yeah.
But the Pelicans are just in a bad like shape right now. Just fold the team and start over, or move somewhere else because whatever is in New Orleans, it's clearly not working.
Call me crazy. I don't think I'm ready to just throw this team in the garbage yet. Obviously they're what, 7-22. They're a bottom three team in the West here. And obviously they don't have their first round pick in this upcoming draft, which is a fixing to be a very good draft class. But I am really liking what I've been seeing from them lately, and especially in their two rookies, notably Derek Queen. The Pelicans, I'm just checking this now. They've won their last four games, including beating Houston. They're on a four-game win streak here, which I didn't even know it until now, which further helps my case. But Derek Queen is they did trade their unprotected first in this upcoming draft for Derek Queen, essentially, which was a highly questioned move at the time, and I think rightfully so. I think it was the maybe one of the worst trades I'd ever seen at the moment of. And Derek Queen will be fighting off that kind of narrative for the rest of his career. It's like, can he live up to whatever this Pelicans first round pick is in this upcoming draft is going to turn out to be? But so far, I mean, like you have to be really encouraged what you've seen from Derek Queen. He looks like a player you could potentially like really run a high level offense through, not just like a bottom of the West offense where you're having fun with Derek Queen. Like he has a true knack for playmaking. I think he's already one of the best playmaking bigs in the league. He has really impressive vision for a rookie and a center at that. He's got really good touch around the rim. He's not a great defender, but this is a guy who, again, we're a third into his rookie season. We might already be saying this is a guy you could run a serious offense through with his knack for playmaking. And Jeremiah Fears hasn't had the most efficient rookie season, but when you watch Jeremiah Fears play, and I know this sounds a little crazy, and I'm not saying he's anything close to this player, but it's hard not to see like Kyrie Irving in his game. He's got a super tight handle. He's got really good footwork. The shooting isn't quite there yet, but he also has a real knack for just getting to his spots and scoring. I don't know if Jeremiah Fears is a championship point guard, but again, you got to be encouraged what you've seen out of him too. They've got two really promising young rookies, Trey Murphy and Herb Jones. At the very least, those are two very attractive trade pieces. And then you have Zion Williamson, who, we're not the highest on Zion over here at Diehlman at halftime, but obviously a generational talent. If he can put it all together, which we've been saying for the last 8 years, I mean, he could be one of the best players in the league. But this team has pieces. Even Jose Alvarado off the bench, Jordan Poole off the bench have been pretty good. Sadiq Bey has been playing ridiculously lately. Sadiq Bey, we kind of wrote off as a player who'd probably find his way out of the league in a couple of years, but after kind of a promising rookie season in Detroit. But Sadiq Bey has really undergone a transformation here in New Orleans. They have plenty of talent, and they're not going to be good this year, and they're going to lose their pick. But we'll get to a team later, which I think needs to throw out the season a little later. But I don't hate the situation New Orleans is in, despite how rough of a trade that was at the time for Derek Queen. All right, so next on my list, playing Santa Chris or Santa Dippy, we're gonna go east over to Boston and the Celtics, who are 17 and 11 right now. I think they're third in the East, and have really kind of found a niche without Jason Tatum here. Jason Tatum is, I still believe, their best player. But Jaylen Brown, I was really concerned about him being the number one option this year, but he's really transcended as a scorer. I mean, he's averaging dang near 30 points a game. And a lot of these players that were kind of buried for years on this Celtics roster or buried on another team's roster have really found roles on the Celtics team that is surging right now. Hugo Gonzalez is a rookie for them who is not the tallest or biggest or most athletic player, but he is a dog. He is a pit bull out there, and he is really tough to play against, clearly. Their first round pick last year, Baylor Shireman's had a role. He's played well. Josh Minot has had a bit of a career revival in Boston. Jordan Walsh has really broke out. Neemias Queta has really broke out. And again, with Jaylen Brown really stepping up to be a competent number one option, it's been really impressive to see what the Celtics have done this season. But for Christmas, I think I'm going to get them a hyperbaric time chamber from Dragon Ball Z, like you see Goku in, and I'm gonna go and gift that to Jason Tatum, and he'll be able to have, as in the show, a year of recovery in 1 day's time. We could see Jason Tatum here, with his brand new hyperbaric time chamber playing as soon as Friday, the day after Christmas, at Indiana, and I'm gonna gift them this because obviously Jason Tatum is a great basketball player, and I still think is a better player than Jaylen Brown. And but just seeing what the Celtics have been able to do this year with such what we thought were limited assets. Again, all these players I just kind of rattled off here, following Jaylen Brown are players that were either kind of written off as non-impact players or kind of late round picks, but they've really had a large impact here. And I think if you were to add Jason Tatum to this team right now, I think they will get him back later in the season, but I think if you added Jason Tatum to this team right now, I mean, you're potentially looking at a one seed caliber of team in the East. There's no super standout number one seed in the East like there is in the West with the Thunder. Pistons obviously having an incredible, surprising year, as are the New York Knicks, who have been really turning it up lately. But I think if you add Jason Tatum to this iteration of the Celtics, you have to put them in that company with the Knicks and the Pistons, just based on what we're seeing out of the Celtics depth this year. So I'm going to go ahead and gift the Celtics and Jason Tatum a brand new shiny hyperbaric time chamber.
An interesting choice. Yeah, the Celtics have had a revival with Jaylen Brown being their number one scoring option, and a lot of the young guys, like you said, stepping up in roles that they might not have had in the past. And yeah, I mean, if Jason Tatum's on this team, you're looking at a true championship contender. I mean, they won the title just, about 18 months ago. So they obviously have the championship experience fresh in their minds. Now they don't have the pieces that took them to that finals, like Drew Holiday and Kristaps Porzingis, both have gone their separate ways due to that dreaded second apron. But they still have the core pieces, they still have the coaching, and I think that they have a great lineup, and Joe Mazzulla is someone that you cannot take lightly as a head coach. So, like you said, Jordan Walsh, Neemias Queta have stepped up in the front court. A lot of great pieces overall, and I think the Knicks are the favorite right now, pretty much to win the East with the Pistons being so young. Maybe Celtics can get back in there. I've been seeing rumors maybe Jason Tatum returns at the end of the year, which I don't know is the greatest idea unless he's like 100% ready to go, because you don't want to re-aggravate that because that could get very ugly very fast, especially something. This isn't like a paper cut or, oh, I, dislocated my shoulder. This is an Achilles rupture, and you do not want to mess with that, especially with him being in his mid 20s. You do not want to, derail your career at this point. Dragon Ball Z, never even thought about that, but it's a good choice. All right, so for my second pick, I am going with a team also in the Eastern Conference. I'm going with the Atlanta Hawks. And my Santa Diehlman gift to them is a record that doesn't hover around 500 no matter who's on the roster.
Oh,
The
come
Hawks,
on.
what?
Just get them a Trae Young trade destination at that point, bro.
The Hawks, ever since 2021, their magical Eastern Conference Finals run, they just cannot get out of neutral with being around 500. I can't. They've had some good players on the roster. They added Dyson Daniels last year. He's been amazing as the Great Barrier Thief. And the Hawks have seen some success this year without Trae Young. And it's interesting to note that Atlanta has lost the last three straight games since Trae returned. He missed the second of those games, but the Hawks are still on a three-game losing streak since Trae came back. So they got Kristaps Porzingis over the offseason. He's been injured as usual. The Hawks, they've had pieces over the years. They've had a lot of good forwards. They've had a lot of good shooters. They have Quinn Snyder, who's been a good head coach. He had a lot of success with the Utah Jazz with Donovan Mitchell, but the Hawks just cannot. I don't know what is with them. They've had defensive issues with Trae Young. Even they got defensive pieces with Porzingis and Daniels. They're still like missing something. Jalen Johnson has absolutely exploded this season. I've been seeing the box scores and the highlights, and this man's putting down nearly triple doubles the last bunch of games.
He's been unreal.
But the Hawks, I don't know what, like, no matter, I feel like they could put LeBron on this roster and they'd still be near 500. I don't know, Chris, what their deal is, but something has to change, whether it's a Trae Young trade or just go out and get more pieces to build around Jalen Johnson and guys like Onyeka Okongwu and Dyson Daniels too. But they have pieces, but something's not meshing here.
One, I think they do need to build around Jalen Johnson here. I don't think anyone saw this coming out of Jalen Johnson, what he's become, and it's been unreal. He has turned into like a 30-point triple double machine this season, and it was completely unforeseen. I remember keeping tabs on the draft a couple years back. And, Jalen Johnson coming out of Duke, a prestigious program, a clearly talented player. I don't think anyone thought that Jalen Johnson would become this. And while he's not exactly the greatest defender himself, like we talk about with Trae Young, I at least think he has the chops to really improve in that department where I don't think Trae Young does. And I think they need to get a point guard that is more suited to playing with Jalen Johnson. And I don't think that's Trae Young. I like Trae Young, super talented, obviously. But like we said at the beginning of the season here, this was kind of Trae Young's audition to really break out as a number one option again. And this was his chance to prove that he can be a number one option on a contending team. And yeah, from what we've seen of him this year, which hasn't been a whole lot, he hasn't quite impressed. And not only that, we've seen Jalen Johnson kind of snatch his chain as the Hawks' number one option here. So I think I'd trade Trae Young and build around Jalen Johnson. But Larry, I think we're giving these gifts to the wrong teams here because Atlanta, like you said, Atlanta's got hope. Atlanta's got players, man. Atlanta's got a Jalen Johnson to keep them full. I think you need to to go up to Atlanta and say, you know what, I'm sorry, I have to return this. I'll get you a gift card or something. And I think you need to re-gift this to the Chicago Bulls, who don't have that hope and don't have those pieces. I think the Bulls need to find themselves out of mediocrity more than the Hawks do, or at least have the need to. Because I think Hawks fans, despite being around 500, are chilling. They've got plenty of awesome pieces, and whereas I think Chicago fans could really use something to cheer them up right now, and that being either a miraculous Matas Bucelis breakout that lifts them above 500, or maybe some catastrophic 30-game lose streak that puts them towards the bottom of the standings, where they arguably need to be just as much as the top of the standings, because like you said, they're just stuck in mediocrity, as are the Hawks. But the Hawks have hope. I think the Bulls fans need a gift more than Hawks fans.
Maybe we can get him a gift receipt or something, or
Yeah, I think we need
get
to.
him a gift card. Maybe the Hawks, we can give him a gift card to Waffle House. I think would be a
Yeah,
fair
yeah.
assessment.
Finally on my list, I'm going to take a trip out to LA, to the team where I think needs a gift the most here this holiday season. And as you probably could guess here, I'm not talking about the Lakers. I'm talking about the LA Clippers. Yikes, 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 yikes. They are in a horrible situation right now. 7-21. I think they're bottom three in the West as well, like the Pelicans I mentioned earlier. And there is no out for this team right now. It's bad. I don't know. I don't even know what they can do. It's like you can sit here for hours and ponder what can the Clippers do to get out of this funk. And it's hard to think of something, because I don't think James Harden's going anywhere, nor do I think you'd really get much in return for him. I don't think anybody's trading for Kawhi Leonard. You just don't know how many games you're going to get out of him. And, he's getting paid $50 million dollars, as is James Harden. It's just tough to know what you're getting out of these guys so late in their careers. Maybe there's a Zubats trade, but he just got hurt. It's like, what are you getting out of Zubats? Like maybe a pick? This team has no picks, no flexibility, like no outs seemingly. And
And you owe the Thunder a pick.
yeah, which is bad enough. That's probably the last team you want to owe a pick here, but I don't know what you do if you're Lawrence Frank, leading the Clippers to kind of recalibrate here. There's really there's really not a whole lot you can do here. So, all that being said, I'm coming in hot with the futuristic tech gifts this year. I think that's really hot on NBA teams' wish list this year. And, the Clippers need a gift the most, so I got them the greatest gift of them all. I'm going to give the Clippers a time machine so they can travel forward 5 years into the future and just not remember any of the 2025 to 2030 years of their franchise, because it's gonna be a rough one. It's gonna be a rough one, because I don't think you're getting out of Harden or Kawhi. I don't know. I don't even know if you're getting anything out of Zubats at this point. I don't know if you're getting any picks. And pretty soon we're going to be looking at a franchise led by Jordan Miller and Ray J. Dennis and Kobe Brown and Kobe Sanders and Cam Christie. I don't think I knew any of those players' names prior to just looking at their depth chart 10 seconds ago. And that's the only semblance of youth this team has. And there's not going to be much of an influx of them for years to come because of their lack of draft capital. So I know if I was a Clippers fan or in the Clippers organization, if I had the option to just fast forward 5 years and clean slate, I would do it, because there's no clean slate that's happening right now. Because again, you're not getting anything for your stars, and there's no outs. There's no outs. It's a rough time to be a Clippers fan. It might be the worst time to be a Clippers fan, and that's saying a lot given their tumultuous history as a franchise. So I'm gonna get the Clippers. I'm gonna spend a paycheck here on a brand new time machine to get them out of this era of Clippers basketball.
I think that's a very fair point you made there. The Clippers are like there's no sugarcoating it. They're in hell. They are in absolute
They are.
hell, purgatory. There is no escape. They've been checkmated if you're playing chess. It's bad because, like I said a minute ago, you still owe a pick to Thunder, who just won a championship and who are most likely on their way to back-to-back titles. You're giving a pick to the best team in the league. You have an old roster. You have, you're always little brother in Los Angeles, and even their best players have like negative trade value. I mean, James Harden he's fine for what he is at this point in his career, but he's not someone you're going to build around long term. Kawhi is available like maybe 50 games a year, if that. There's really not a whole lot. And a guy like Norman Powell, who had a nice little year last year. Oh, guess what? He went to Miami Heat. And Zubats just went down with an injury. Nobody's afraid of Brook Lopez at this point in his career. There's just really not much to look forward to if you're a Clippers fan. I apologize to any Clippers fans out there. I think it's fair to say you have a free ticket to become a bandwagon Lakers fan or a Thunder fan because that's pretty much where everything went. Like all of your fandom, you can become a Thunder fan if you want to follow Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. But yeah, Clippers Nation not looking too good right now. All right, and my final team on my NBA wish list, Santa Larry is gifting. I am going out to the Pacific Coast of the United States. I'm going with the Golden State Warriors, and my Christmas present for them is a semi rebuild without going into complete poverty. So right now, the Warriors, they've kind of been stuck, kind of like the Hawks, but the Warriors at least they have a star you can build around. Obviously, with the Hawks, we've talked about Trae Young is a time for them to pull the plug on him and transition to Jalen Johnson. Steph Curry is obviously a man you can build around. He's won 4 championships with the Warriors and especially 2 without Kevin Durant. With the Warriors, it's kind of tough to see right now how much the current core has left in the tank. Steph Curry turns 38 in March, so he's getting up there in age, but he can still put up his usual shooting numbers. And, Draymond Green is up there in age. Jimmy Butler, who they got last year, is getting up there in age. I believe he's 36. And we've already talked about how they got rid of Klay Thompson. It was time to break up that core. I think the Warriors' biggest problem right now is developing young talent. We've seen Pat Spencer go on a little bit of a tear not too long ago. They have Quentin Post running the post, but their overall young talent's been questionable in recent times. Jonathan Kuminga being at the top of that list, he has shown promise. He's a talented young forward, but I feel like does Steve Kerr hate him, or does Kuminga just not want to re-sign with the Warriors? Does he want to go somewhere else? There's been a lot of tension. They got him back. I think they re-signed him recently, but there's just been a true lack of a youth movement in Golden State, and you have to keep asking yourself every year, when is the rebuild going to start? When is the rebuild going to start? So, and right now there's too many strong teams in the West, Chris, for the Warriors to make a true playoff run. I mean, this isn't 2016 where the Warriors are losing only 9 games in the regular season. This is 2025-26 where the Thunder reign supreme, and then you also have teams like the Rockets and the Nuggets and the Lakers, etc. The Warriors just aren't there right now. So my Christmas gift to them is going into a semi rebuild or getting some players without just completely going into straight poverty, as we've seen with teams like the Clippers or even the Jazz when they pulled the plug on the Donovan Mitchell, Rudy Gobert era a few years ago.
Yeah, I think they need to send this into a rebuild now. I mean, when you have Steph Curry and you have Jimmy Butler and you have Draymond Green, and 2 of those guys you've been with for so many years and you've won championships with, I think you're naturally just gonna assume or want to think that you can still win with these guys. But, I'd fairly high hopes for the Warriors this year, but again, it's just not panning out right now at all. I think Steve Kerr just said recently that he's never coaching without Steph Curry on his team. So I think another gift we could give out here is a restraining order for Steph Curry from Steve Kerr, because I don't think he's the coach to lead this rebuild. And, I really just don't think this roster is going anywhere. This core that they have right now with Curry, Butler, and Draymond. And it's like I think they should really just look to see what they can get for these guys now. It's a young man's West right now, and that is not the Warriors. And Again, Curry is still playing at a high level. I don't think he's 2016 Curry, but I mean he's dang close. You could still get a lot for him. I think you could get a decent package for a Jimmy Butler right now. I think you could maybe get something for a Draymond Green right now, a team that's looking to maybe have a culture reset. So I would just cut the BS and start this rebuild now. But this is what the Warriors are going to do. They're going to hold out hope because they have Steph Curry and they've won championships with Steph Curry. So they're going to think this core is going to work, and it's not. So yeah, that's a totally reasonable and fair and honest gift that the Warriors should be happy to accept, and they should stop pushing off before they can't get anything for these guys. Santa Dealman, Santa Deal, you've been doing a great job giving out gifts this holiday season.
As of you.
Um, although you did accidentally give Chicago's gift to Atlanta, which was an awkward moment at the White Elephant exchange. But I think we did a great job here. I think we made a lot of teams happy.
Sorry, Golden State fans, but the Warriors thing, I forgot to get the gift receipt, so it is not returnable. My bad.
Good. Shouldn't be anyway.
Nah, the Clippers one's very valid. Celtics one, the Timberwolves one, I think is just the most straightforward, but point guard can go a long way in deciding a championship contender. Finally, for this week's game of the week, we are packing 5 games of the week into one section because it is the Christmas Day slate. These games will obviously be on Thursday, December 25th, starting at noon, and it will run all day long. Chris, we have a lot of exciting matchups here on Christmas Day, and they are all within their own conference, so there's no like cross conference like East versus a West Coast team. It's just East and West. So we are going to start out with the first game on the docket at noon. Cavaliers at Knicks. The Knicks usually host the 12 o'clock game on Christmas Day. The struggling Cavs are going up against the Knicks team coming off an NBA Cup win in the final over the Spurs in Las Vegas. New York has had, they have a good variety of weapons we've seen with Jalen Brunson and guys like OG Anunoby, Josh Hart. Just a good variety of weapons under new head coach Mike Brown compared to Cleveland's lineup, as we talked about last week, where, they have two small guards and two post players that don't really have a offensive bag. So I think this is going to be a good matchup overall, potentially a early first round or maybe even a second round matchup, depending on how things work out. So I am going with the New York Knicks in this matchup in a 6-point spread. I'm going 114-108.
You actually nailed that line. It's Knicks -5.5. So you're taking them to just cover here as we talk about sports books, despite 30 minutes ago talking about how awful they were. Anyway, this 12 o'clock slot on Christmas, probably going to be the least watched game any year during the 5 game Christmas slate we normally have, because you might have families kind of still opening presents, having a late start to their day. And I'll say this, there are 4 good matchups this Christmas, and this is not one of them. And I'm glad it's in that 12 o'clock slot where probably not a lot of people are going to be watching it. New York is going to win this basketball game. Cleveland is just not who we thought they were, and not who the schedule makers thought they were when they made this matchup on Christmas Day to start the slate. Again, they're in a total funk right now, just not hitting shots, not being able to stay on the floor. And the Knicks are firing on all cylinders right now. I'm going to take the Knicks in this one, 125-102. I think it's going to be a bit of a blowout to start the slate here.
All right, a blowout. I can definitely see a blowout. I think the Knicks are just really in a
At the
groove right
Garden,
now.
too. Come on.
Yeah. If it was in Cleveland, maybe not as much, but I still take the Knicks there. But at the Garden on Christmas Day, Merry Christmas, Knicks fans. So we're both going with the Knicks.
Alrighty, so we're going to get a rematch of the legendary NBA Cup semifinal game between the San Antonio Spurs and the Oklahoma City Thunder. This game's being played in Oklahoma City. Obviously, they played just about a week ago, maybe a little over, and it was a game for the ages. San Antonio pulled off the upset against the 25-1 Oklahoma City Thunder in Wemby's return. looked a little rusty, but kind of took over the game late and won it for them. I think this is the most anticipated game on this Christmas slate. I wish it was a little bit later in the slate, but I think we'll be done opening presents by 2:30 time. So I can't wait for this game. It's going to be so fun. It's going to be so fun to see how Oklahoma City adjusts, and it's also going to be fun to see how much of Wemby's health has come along since that first matchup. So I'm going to take the Thunder here. I think it's going to be another close one. I'll take the Thunder 110 to 103. I think it's going to be fairly close, but I think the Thunder are going to win by a larger margin than when the Spurs beat them just a little bit ago in the semifinal. It's going to be an amazing game, though.
It's going to be probably the best game of the slate, as you said. So in Oklahoma City at 2:30, I think this is probably a Western Conference Finals preview, or at least in this
I
part of this,
hope.
at least in this part of the season, I think we can kind of bookmark that for now. And as you mentioned, the Spurs recently defeated the Thunder in Las Vegas for that NBA Cup semifinal. These two, obviously, two of the younger teams in the league with a lot of talent, and they're winning. It's not like they're their youngest team in the league and oh, they're at the bottom of the Western Conference. No, like they're both pretty at the top of the Western Conference, especially with the Thunder. Now, the main question here, not only this game but just in the future, is Victor Wembanyama the one man who can stand in the way of Oklahoma City winning the title every year? And I think we had brought that up in the last episode or whatever. Victor Wembanyama is just such a freak of nature. He's such an alien that, I think maybe he can be the one man that gets in the way because last year we saw with the Thunder, nobody was stopping them. Like let's face the facts here. Besides the Pacers, but that was the NBA Finals. Like the Thunder, obviously, you got to go through 3 rounds in the West first, and they just pretty much bulldozed anyone who got in their way. The Pacers almost got in the way, but Tyrese Halliburton got hurt and Miles Turner is gone, so the Pacers are not getting back to the finals anytime soon. So I think this will be a great game overall. We're going to see a young core on both sides. I'm going with the Thunder as well. Chris, I'm going even more razor thin than you. 120, 117.
I hope it's going to be a great game.
So coming up next, so that was the 2:30 slot. Then we're going into probably the entree round of the Christmas Day slate. 5 o'clock, probably everybody getting ready for dinner. We have Mavericks at Warriors. And like Chris said, I think the schedule makers had a different idea of this game from then until now. The Mavericks have been struggling a little bit, and the Warriors have been, well, as we just talked about in the last section, a little bit underachieving, and they are unks. Cooper Flagg is making his national holiday stage debut as a rookie, and Dallas is trying to make up ground as they are looking to get into the play-in tournament seeds. Anthony Davis, I believe, is going to be the key for Dallas. They are still waiting for Kyrie Irving to make his return this season. He has not played because of an ACL tear from last season. Even though it is in Golden State, Chris, I am going with the Dallas Mavericks here, 108-100.
Yeah, it's hard not to take Dallas here. They're kind of a surging team right now, whereas Golden State is really just still trying to find themselves. I think it's great that probably the two worst games on this 5 game slate are during when we'll be opening presents and during dinner. But I think this Dallas Golden State game is just a little bit more intriguing than Cleveland at New York. Dallas has kind of, contrary to the Warriors, has been kind of finding themselves lately. I think they were doing Cooper Flagg and the team wrong by trying to force him to be a point guard, and they've kind of let Cooper Flagg do his thing out on the wing. Obviously, still being a primary ball handler, but maybe not with such playmaking responsibility. And Ryan Nembhard, undrafted free agent, the brother of Andrew, has really stepped up for them, and he's been awesome. And I said prior to the season, I said, why is nobody jumping on this guy like in the second round? It just felt so right. I mean, the brother of Andrew Nembhard, who's not a player who is so good because of his athleticism or whatever, and Ryan Nembhard, also not that player, but I mean, take a shot on the guy in the second round, and the Mavericks signed him as an undrafted free agent, and he's already returned plenty of dividends for them. And like I said, Cooper Flagg is playing incredible right now. Still just 18 years old, which is just unbelievable with how good he's been playing. He's clearly going to be a superstar in this league, and Dallas is really kind of finding their niche lately, while Golden State is still doesn't know what lineup to start, and is missing a big man, and things are really trending downward for them. It looks like this kind of era of Curry, Butler, and Draymond is not really going to pan out for them. But we're still fairly early in the season. But I'm also going to go with Dallas here. I'll take Dallas in this one. I'll go 115, 113. I think Golden State will keep it close. This kind of it's kind of a crapshoot what games they keep close nowadays. It's Christmas though. It's a big game. Steph Curry, national TV. I think the Warriors will find a way to keep this one close, but I'll have Dallas edging it out here as we transition into the 8 o'clock window for what I think is the second best game of the 5 game slate here on Christmas. The Houston Rockets going to LA to play the Lakers. This is just an awesome game between two of the best teams in the West. I think both teams are kind of not in that true upper echelon of contenders, which I think Oklahoma City might be alone in that tier right now, maybe with Denver, maybe with New York. But Houston and LA are in that tier, maybe right below them, where they are certainly talented and capable enough of challenging those teams like Oklahoma City and making a deep playoff run here. Houston just coming off of a loss to the Sacramento Kings in overtime.
That's embarrassing.
Yeah, so the Rockets coming off a loss to Sacramento in overtime. I believe Dennis Schroeder hit the game winner. They haven't been too good in crunch time this year. The Houston Rockets have. I feel like they've been going to Şengün a little bit more than they should in crunch time. I think they kind of forget that they have Kevin Durant and Amen Thompson who can get to the rack at will against pretty much anybody. But Houston obviously super talented. They just have a boatload of great players, and LA has been having an amazing season as well. We've talked at length about the season Austin Reeves is having and how he's stepped up, and Luka is Luka, and LeBron is finding his niche in this lineup after missing the start of the year. It's going to be a very fun game here in LA, but this might be LeBron's last game on Christmas. He's been a Christmas mainstay on this slate for the last countless amount of years. I think I'm going to take the Lakers here and LeBron to get potentially a final Christmas W here. I'm going to take the Lakers 120 to 116 here. I think it'll be a close one. It'll be really fun.
Yeah, this is a great matchup. Another Western Conference showdown at the 8 o'clock time slot. So families might be getting ready for some dessert, some good, maybe some coffee, maybe listen to some Christmas carols or whatnot. So we got a good old-fashioned Kevin Durant and LeBron James battle, perhaps one of the last times ever. I saw a quote from LeBron on Instagram. He basically said that, he loves doing this, but frankly, that he'd rather be sitting with his family on the couch. It just shows you how long he's been doing this, and I think he's kind of just done with the whole thing because you think about it, he's probably the biggest face in the NBA. Forget the Thunder for a second, forget the I don't know, like the Steph Currys of the world. LeBron is still probably the face of the league, despite him starting to decline. He's just the most recognizable face. So of course they're going to put him on major holidays and major time slots and commercials and whatnot. One question I have for the Lakers here is if Luka Doncic will be available because he just suffered a leg contusion. I think he's going to be day by day, but that could be something that
Right.
factors into this game. Like you said, the Rockets have plenty of young talent like Amen Thompson, lockdown defense on the wing. The Lakers right now are just ahead of the Rockets in the Western Conference standings, so this could play a factor in head-to-head tiebreakers later in the season. But this is going to be the first time we are going to split on these predictions. I'm going with Houston in a road victory. I'm going with a high flyer 125, 115.
I could see that. Part of me picking the Lakers is I just want to see LeBron get one last dub on Christmas, but
Yeah, and
Houston is a totally reasonable pick there.
I think the Rockets are looking to get some they want to prove themselves because when you lose to the Sacramento Kings, that's not
You got to
necessarily
come back from that.
yeah, that's not a good day. So finally, to wrap up our slate of our quintuple header, we have the Timberwolves at Nuggets at 10:30 p.m. Standard Time or East Coast time. Chris, people that are still over at Christmas dinner at 10:30 either are just about to wrap up or are passed out on the couch, or maybe you're just a basketball head and you're watching the game with your bros. So got a 10:30 game here. Should be a good one. Again, another Western Conference showdown. We got Nikola Jokic. This man is still averaging a triple double for a season with casual shooting splits, Chris. Nothing too spectacular of 60, 42, and 84. You're considered pretty good if you're shooting 50, 40, 90. So 60, 42, 84 is absolutely ridiculous. The Timberwolves, we've already talked about them a little bit earlier in the show. They have a good lineup, but are lacking a point guard. Cam Johnson, the new addition for the Denver Nuggets, his scoring is down a little bit from his time with the Nets, but you could probably put that to his time in Brooklyn with empty stats. The Nets weren't going anywhere, so now he's on a true contender, but his points are still down regardless. I think the Timberwolves, their tall task is going to be, besides Jokic, Jamal Murray is always a handful to deal with, despite the fact that Jamal Murray never gets any love with all-star recognitions or obviously MVPs. With Jokic being on the roster, Jamal Murray is still a very tough guard to stop, whether he's driving to the rim or whether he's pulling up and turning into God mode against the Lakers. So I'm going with the chicken nuggies here. Get my dipping sauce. I got the Nuggets 110-102 to wrap up Christmas Day.
Another great Western Conference juggernaut matchup here later in this slate. Awesome game. I think the difference is going to be Jamal Murray, though. He's been playing on another level this year. He's gotten out to slow starts for many of the years of his career, but he's been playing at an all-star level and more to start this season. This is a different Jamal Murray, and he is going to be feasting on the and one mixtape bros, Rob Dillingham and Bones Highland. And I think that disparity at the point guard slot is going to make all the difference here. And like you said, the Nuggets also, in addition to Jamal Murray, have this Serbian dude named Nikola Jokic, who is a pretty solid basketball player. So I think I'm going to take Denver here. The Timberwolves can be world beaters, like we saw when Anthony Edwards hit that step back game winning three against the Thunder, which was just unbelievable. So I think after seeing that, you can't really count Minnesota out of any game, but I feel pretty confident here in my pick of the Denver Nuggets. I'll go with the Nuggets, 116 to 110 here. I think they will win with a little bit of cushion, and that will wrap up our beautiful Christmas NBA slate.
A lot of great picks overall. We got a lot of good games. As Chris pointed out, probably the least exciting game being Cavs Knicks to start the day, but it's not how you start, it's how you finish, Chris. So as the day goes on, we got a lot of great matchups, and we will see some great basketball as we get to Christmas Day. Well, that's all the time we have for today. If you haven't already, make sure to follow the podcast accounts, Chris and me, on social media. The three podcast accounts on Instagram, TikTok, and X or Twitter are under @Diehlman@half. My personal X and Instagram are @Larry Diehlman. Chris's personal X and Instagram are @ChrisDippy. All 7 handles are in the description on Buzzsprout, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Remember, although you can find Diehlman at Halftime on major podcasting platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, and YouTube, the main podcast website is on Buzzsprout. The website URL is dealmanathalftime.buzzsprout.com. Feel free to send a comment by using the Send Us a Text button located in each episode's bio. With the exception of Apple Podcasts, the text option is available on Buzzsprout and all of the major platforms. Your comment could end up in the fan mail section of the Buzzsprout website. And don't forget to spread the word about Diehlman at Halftime. So, guys, it is Christmas. It is the holiday season. This has been our special edition Christmas episode. I want to wish all of our listeners a very Merry Christmas and a happy holiday season. We'll wish you a Happy New Year next week, since we'll do one more episode before the calendar switch. But Chris, I am thankful for you for joining our podcast this season. I think it's been very successful so far. It's just added a new flavor, a new wrinkle, I guess, in our podcast overall. And it's been great to do this with you.
I'm thankful to be a part of it. I've been having a lot of fun so far this season, and I'm excited for what is to come. And to our listeners, again, have a very happy holidays and ho, 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 Merry Christmas!
That is Santa Dippy for you, ladies and gentlemen. So I wish you all a very Merry Christmas and a happy holiday season as well. See you next time, fellow Hoops fans. Merry Christmas.